Most men are surrounded by noise, not just the noise of traffic or chatter, but the constant buzz of opinions, validation-seeking, scrolling, and endless comparison. They wake up and check their phones before they even check in with themselves. Notifications, comments, likes, messages, every single one of them is someone else's voice. And in the middle of all that noise, they forget their own. This is the first symptom of modern distraction, losing touch with your own mind. And the sad part is, most don't even realize it's happening. They just drift, chasing goals that aren't theirs, living a life they never consciously chose. And the reason? They've never been alone long enough to hear their own thoughts clearly. Solitude is feared today. If a man says he enjoys being alone, people think he's antisocial, depressed, or strange. But solitude isn't loneliness, it's clarity. It's where a man meets his true self, stripped of masks, stripped of noise. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, wrote an entire book of reflections to himself, his meditations, while surrounded by war, politics, and pressure. But he still carved out time to be alone. Why? Because even at the top of the world, he understood that without inner stillness, all external success is hollow. Modern men are constantly performing for women, for followers, for peers, for strangers. Everything becomes a show. The gym selfie, the motivational quote, the travel post. But here's the truth. The strongest men don't need to broadcast their strength. They don't need applause. In fact, they avoid it, because every time you seek applause, you give away a piece of your power. Approval is a trap. Once you taste it, you begin to crave it. And the moment you crave it, you begin to bend. You post what gets likes. You say what's popular. You dress to impress. You live for others. And when that happens, you're no longer a man. You're a puppet. You were born to be a warrior, not an entertainer. The warrior walks alone, not because he has no options, but because he chooses his own path. He's not cold or arrogant. He's focused. He has something most people fear: direction. And when a man has direction, he becomes dangerous, not in a violent way, but in a way that shakes people, because they can't manipulate him, they can't distract him, they can't label him. Look around today. How many men are truly grounded? How many men sit in silence, reflect, and move intentionally? Very few. Most are chasing dopamine. Their attention span is fried. Their mind is like a pinball machine. And when you try to talk to them about solitude, they get uncomfortable. They say, "That's boring," or "I need people." But what they really mean is, "I can't face myself." Facing yourself is the hardest thing a man can do, because in the silence, all the fake confidence, all the excuses, all the projections disappear. And what's left is the truth. Maybe you're insecure. Maybe you've been avoiding responsibility. Maybe you're not who you pretend to be. That's painful, but it's also necessary, because the man who avoids that pain stays stuck, but the man who confronts it grows. Solitude is not about isolation from the world. It's about insulation from the nonsense. It's about creating space to think deeply, plan clearly, and build strength internally. When you spend time alone, you start noticing your habits. You catch yourself reaching for your phone mindlessly. You observe your thoughts. You become aware of the mental chatter, and over time, that chatter quiets. You begin to think with clarity, not anxiety. You make decisions from principle, not pressure. This is where masculine self-mastery begins, in stillness, in solitude, in the practice of self-honesty. A man who takes time to reflect is a man who stops reacting. He doesn't explode when he's triggered. He doesn't get jealous when others succeed. He doesn't chase every woman who smiles at him. Why? Because he's anchored. His value doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. And that's rare. We're taught that being a man is about being tough, being loud, being dominant. But real masculinity is about being composed, being disciplined, being rooted. And the root grows deep in solitude. Look at the great men of history. Warriors, philosophers, inventors, kings. They all had seasons of solitude, not because they hated people, but because they understood that leadership starts with self-leadership. And self-leadership requires self-awareness. That can't be developed in chaos. It develops in the quiet. But here's the catch. Solitude is not comfortable. At first, it feels empty. You'll want to distract yourself. You'll reach for the TV, the phone, the music. You'll tell yourself, this is pointless. But that's the withdrawal. That's your mind detoxing from constant stimulation. Stay with it. Sit in the discomfort. On the other side is clarity. When you develop a habit of solitude, your energy shifts. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. You don't explain your moves. You just move. You become mysterious, not because you're trying to be, but because people can't figure you out. They can't place you in a box. You're no longer predictable. You're no longer easy to control. And that's power. Women sense it too. They respect a man who isn't desperate for their attention, a man who doesn't orbit around them, a man who values his time, his mission, and his mind. That's attractive. Not the guy who's always available, always texting, always chasing, but the man who's building something, who's scarce, who's intentional. Solitude gives you that edge. It sharpens you. It reveals your flaws and then gives you the tools to fix them. But more than anything, it reconnects you with purpose. Most men today are tired not because they're working too hard, but because they're scattered. Their attention is split between 10 things. They have no clarity. They're just busy. But being busy is not the same as being productive. A lion resting in the shade is still more powerful than a hamster running in a wheel. And that's what solitude does. It pulls you out of the wheel. It makes you ask, why am I doing this? Who am I becoming? Is this aligned with my values? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are the doorway to self-mastery. And self-mastery is the foundation of all other mastery. You want to lead? Master yourself first. You want to earn respect? Learn to respect your own time and energy. You want peace? Stop trying to please everyone. It all starts with solitude, not as a lifestyle, but as a discipline. So how do you begin? Start with just 10 minutes a day. No phone, no music, no input. Just sit, think, reflect. You'll feel resistance. That's normal. Push through. Over time, increase it. Use a journal if it helps. Write down your thoughts, your plans, your patterns. Observe yourself like an outsider would. Study your weaknesses, study your strengths, and most importantly, make time for this daily. Not once a week, daily. Because the world will always be loud. It will always try to distract you, seduce you, confuse you. But when you are rooted in solitude, you can move through that world like a rock in the river. Still, unshaken, focused. That's what Stoic masculinity looks like. Not emotionless, not distant, but calm, clear, powerful. So stop running from silence. Embrace it. Turn down the noise. Stop seeking validation. Sit with your thoughts and ask yourself, what kind of man am I becoming? The answer will come, not from the world, but from within. And that voice, that quiet, clear, grounded voice, that's you, the real you. And that man is unstoppable.